All right, we'll call this afternoon's briefing session to order. Mr. Crago, would you like to brief us on August 24th? Oh, we have to take roll first. Sorry.
Council President Beggs.
Here.
Councilmember Burke. Councilmember Burke.
They must not be able to hear us.
Councilmember Burke, can you hear me? Councilmember Burke.
Try someone else.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Present.
Okay. Councilmember Kinnear.
Present.
Councilmember Mumm.
Here.
Councilmember Stratton.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Here.
And back to Councilmember Burke. I can see Councilmember Burke.
She emailed us by the thing saying
perfect.
she is there, but her audio is not working yet.
Oh, perfect. All council members are present.
All right, now, Mr. Crago, if you'd like to take over for the August 24th advanced.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This will be the 24th of August. Item number 1 is acceptance of an emergency solutions grant. Matt Davis will give us the briefing on that.
Apologies, I'm having a hard time unmuting. I apologize for that. So this is the second tranche of Emergency Solutions Grant appropriated under the CARES Act. It's approximately $3.3 million that will be amended to our current ESG CV grant. At this point, the direction is that all the programs currently funded under ESG CV at the direction of Spokane Regional Health District will need to continue to maintain that level of social distancing, and will continue to incur the costs incurred. So this will be going to continue on those programs such as Hope House and House of Charity, as well as to fund the continuance of the healthy sheltering programs with Catholic Charities at the Rising Strong campus for families, as well as the new site at Mission. Any questions?
Thanks, Matt. Item number 2 is report of the mayors on claims, payments, warrants, payroll. And item number 3 is a city council minutes, which would take us to the legislative agenda. 2 appointments. Council President, would you like to report on the 2 appointments, or move on to the rest of the legislative agenda?
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but do we have them, Ms. Pfister? The 2 reappointments?
I can tell you who they are. Hold on here.
All right,
Give me a second.
just a moment.
One of them is Travis Tramp to the Hotel Advisory Commission, and the other one is Lance Kistler for appointment to Spokane Human Rights Commission.
Okay. And those are both reappointments. So we could go on to the legislative agenda.
Okay. First will be the ordinance C35928, which will be considered under hearing items number 2, which will take us to resolutions and final reading ordinances. Resolution 2020-0060 will be South University District Sub-Area Plan, and Christopher Green will give us that brief.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a one of 2 pieces related to the South University District Sub-Area Planning process that will be on the agenda. The other is an ordinance that enacts comprehensive plan, land use map, zone changes, and overlay changes. This resolution would recognize the draft sub-area plan as a vision for the feature of the neighborhood that would then be implemented by those changes in the ordinance. So this is not much to update since the study session last week on this one.
Thanks, Chris. Next up is Resolution 2020-0061, which will be expressing the Council's disapproval of Killology training, and Councilmember Burke is the sponsor.
Councilmember Burke was having some difficulty, but she's calling in. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, we can't hear you, but is she muted on Colin?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Kinnear.
why don't you or I
Okay,
reach this?
why don't Councilmember Kinnear? Why don't you brief that?
So this, can you all hear me okay? I've got headphones on. I hope
Yes.
I'm not echoing. Councilmember Burke, is it okay if I go ahead? Okay, thanks. This is not a condemnation of the police, but rather disapproval of a training message. It also commends Chief Meidel for his signature of a letter that talks about some police reforms. He is WASP's new president, so this is in recognizing that he too would like to see some reform. We did have a couple of folks say, why are you doing this now? The city is not going to be using this. This is not just for this year, but going into the future. And the city has in the past used this kind of training. So as a council, I'm hoping we can say this is not the way we want to go forward as a city, but rather with a more guardian approach rather than a warrior mentality. So, Councilmember Burke, I hope I did justice to that. And any questions, Councilmember Baxter, I could answer them.
Councilmember Kinnear, Councilmember Wilkerson here. I just wanted to say I supported that. In the climate that we're in, it was not promoting the air of healing that we were hoping for to heal our community. I know it's just a message, but it is a message, and I hope it's well received by the community.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Ordinance C-35879, which will amend Ordinance C-34032, and Councilmember Stratton is our sponsor.
Yes, it's my understanding that we are still having conversations about this issue, and I will be making a motion, I don't know if I should do it now, to defer it to October 26th.
Is there a second?
I'll second if that's a motion.
Yep. And I just, by way of background, we have just got a new draft back from City Legal on some of the details, and some council members want to talk about it. There's several ways to slice up the language on it, was make that transition. So I think that gives us more than enough time. We should have a final version by then that we can vote on. But any other comments on the motion to defer to October 26th? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's deferred to October 26th.
Next ordinance is C-35819, which will vacate a couple streets, and Alden Brown will give us a briefing.
Good afternoon. I'll try to pull up a map here. Excuse me, I got the wrong one here. I'll start off here in Alameda Court. We'll see if I can find the right one on our maps here. But we previously had a hearing on Alameda Court in October of last year. And as part of that, we vacated, let's see. Okay, can everybody see this one?
Yep.
Can you see this map here?
Yes. Or
Yes, comment through.
You see it?
Pull up here a little bit. Okay. On tonight's agenda, we have on the current agenda an actual revision of the original ordinance we approved back in October, the council approved, I should say, back in October of last year. Basically, what we're doing is a new first reading of the ordinance, and what you're seeing there in pink and green is basically the portion of Alameda Court. This is a little area kind of in Central City here that's just north of, or just south of Mission Avenue and west of Waston. There's a little court in there 25 feet wide called Alameda Court. This is an alley over here called Central Court, and the applicant is Community Frameworks, and they're vacating what you're seeing in red and green in there, which is about 30 feet shorter than what we had a hearing on last October. So last October, we actually had a hearing that extended that vacation 30 feet further to the west. So we're simply just going back through and doing the first reading of the ordinance tonight, and then next week we're scheduling the final reading of the ordinance. They've basically satisfied all the conditions to it. One issue we were trying to figure out is right down the center of this 25-foot court is a sewer in there, and we're trying to make sure we have access to that sewer manhole. And as part of this site plan and everything, we worked everything out between property owners and the city, so we're ready for final reading for it. Any questions?
Eldon, can you tell us? Eldon, can you tell us what kind of project it is they're building?
It's a affordable housing project. The Community Frameworks is building in there.
Thanks.
I don't remember the number of units, but that's what we're showing on the site plan. Basically, the parking lot there in the framework, or the outline of the building, is shown in there, and I don't remember how many units, but it's an affordable housing project. It was approved as a no-cost vacation for that affordable housing project back in October of last year.
Great.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much, Eldon. The next ordinance is actually going to be considered as a hearing number 1, which will be final reading ordinance for C35925, which will deal with some zoning and the South University District area, and Christopher Green is back.
Yes, I'm back. So this is the ordinance that would implement some of the changes that were recommended in the South University District sub-area plan. It centers on the Sherman and Sprague Avenue, kind of the T that those form at an intersection, going from general commercial 150 to downtown university zoning. So this ordinance has a few different pieces. It would amend the comprehensive plan land use map, zoning, and then overlay maps for complete streets, surface parking, limited overlay, and design review threshold. So those are all kind of within that same area that's recommended for the changes. I can pull up a map of that really quick. And so it would impact that area along those two streets. There's a recommendation from the Plan Commission following their hearing. They voted 9-1 to recommend the proposal that's before you in the ordinance. You have the public comments that went to the Plan Commission. We haven't received any since the Plan Commission hearing, but they'll be open, and testimony will be open then as well. I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. Last item is hearing number 2, which is an emergency ordinance C35928, which was zoning ordinance, which was briefed this morning at Urban Experience. I'd probably have to defer to the council president if there's any questions.
Nope. I told Cheryl she didn't need to come back and say the same thing again, so we're good.
That would take you to the end of the 24th of August, Monday's agenda.
All right, that will bring us to tonight's agenda, and since we were off last week, we'll need to brief that. I'll just note at the beginning that there's some COVID community response matters, a special budget ordinance to get some money from Department of Commerce, and then there's 6 contracts to spend it that are in there. We'll have to amend the agenda at some point to put them on, but I'll let you take it away on the consent agenda to start.
Council President,
Yeah.
did you want to?
Okay, here's your consent agenda for tonight. Item number 1 is a value blanket order renewal, and Lauren Searle will give us a brief.
And before Lauren does that, the clerk reminded me that we should probably have a motion to approve the August 24th agenda. So is there a motion to approve that agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the August 24th agenda as amended to defer that one matter, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, that agenda is approved. And now, Mr. Searle.
All right. Good afternoon. This afternoon we have a value blanket for our annual purchase of fire hydrants. This with Core and Main is for a total value of $225,000 for a 1 year. This is a first renewal of a 3-year renewal option, by the way. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Next up, Jay Atwood will give us a quick brief on the contract renewal of ESO Solutions.
Good afternoon, Council. This is the contract renewal for ESO, which is our fire reporting management system for both EMS incidents and fire-related incidents. So this is just our annual maintenance renewal for that software package, totaling $79,371.78.
Thanks, Jay. Next up is a contract with CompuNet and Michael Sloan.
Good afternoon, Council. This is Teresa Pelham filling in for Mike Sloan. This is a contract with CompuNet to purchase hardware implementation and maintenance for a project that we're calling the Internet Edge and DMZ re-architecture. It's to do things such as improve redundancy and performance and uptime for our public-facing websites, public safety connectivity, remote workers, and as well as some other benefits. The contract total is $269,512.30, and it's fully funded by replacement dollars.
Thanks, Teresa. Next up is Dusty Fredrickson and a contract extension with Infinite Innovations.
Good afternoon, Council. This is a professional service contract we have with Infinite Innovations. We're buying capacity to help augment our legal case management team on the IT side as we're continuing to support the current case management system, Justware, and we're implementing eSuite alongside of that. So it's helping us get some extra bandwidth. That'll bring that $41,000 will bring the total contract cost up to $80,388. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dusty. Item number 5 is a contract amendment with Spokane Roofing Company and David Steele.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. We've got a roof contract that when we tore into the actual roof, we quickly discovered that there was a lack of insulation, so we don't meet current building code. So this amendment covers that and gets us up to snuff for this roof. Thank you much.
Thanks, Dave. Item number 6 is Jennifer Hammond and a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with City and Spokane County.
Good afternoon, Council. This is MOU to apply for the Justice Assistance Grant Funds for 2020 jointly with the county. The total grant application will be $144,883. The city's portion of that will be $65,197.35, and it will be used for equipment.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Item number 7 is the First Amendment and extension with City of Airway Heights for water supply from City of Spokane. Scott Simmons.
Good afternoon, Council. The agenda item in front of you is for renewal of the agreement with Airway Heights, which is an agreement to provide emergency water supply from contamination they've got in their groundwater. This was briefed at the July 27th PIES Committee. Airway Heights was in attendance as well. The original agreement was put in place approximately 2 years ago. It called for a 2-year agreement with 3 1-year extensions, up to 3 for a total of 5. The Airway Heights has requested that the first extension be entered into, and they've also requested that we add 2 years onto the emergency water supply agreement to make it a total of 7 years, so that would be 5 1-year extensions. Happy to take any questions.
Have we discussed extending the term? I don't recall doing that with the council.
I'm sorry, Councilman, I didn't quite pick that up.
Sorry, mine's in and out. Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, I don't remember the expansion of the term. Does any other council have a concern over expanding it for 5 years?
Janice, I couldn't hear that question. Please repeat it.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of discussion about the term. So I don't know, do we have any data on why that is, Scott? Are they not transitioning over, or is this has to do with the Fairchild contamination, or why the extended term?
I apologize. I wasn't at the PIES committee meeting when they provided the update. From what we've understood in our conversations with them, the progress being made on a long-term solution with the Air Force has been painfully slow for them. They are concerned about being able to have a longer-term solution in place prior to this 5 years. So the request for 2 additional, they felt like that gave them additional time to work through the internal challenges of the Air Force Base.
Okay, well, as long as council has the opportunity to review this every year, I guess I'm fine to extend it. It'll be in my lifetime here.
I don't
remember that is one of the busier, more rapid growth areas in our community, and if it's going to be built completely dependent upon our water, we need to understand that and have those discussions, outside of when it comes up for contract renewal. So I pass that baton on to those of you remaining, water and Airway Heights. We need to keep working with them so they can be independent.
Yeah, this is Council President. I don't remember I remember being briefed about it, but I don't remember the extension being discussed. So I don't know, when does this contract expire? Is there time for deferring it? Maybe we could talk about it. Our next PIES meeting is coming up next week, so we could talk about it then.
Yeah, we can talk about it again. The contract, the 2 years is up right now. So we do have in the contract an annual review, and an annual review takes place when the extension is requested and considered by City Council. So that's the opportunity for Airway Heights to advise the City of Spokane on progress they're making and what the timeline looks like for having some longer-term solutions in place. The water is limited around a 1,400 gallon per minute cap for this emergency. So should they grow in different areas of the city, there is not additional water necessary that would be pumped from the City of Spokane to have a cap in place on it. And we have a flow meter in place that monitors and manages that.
Right, but as they continue to grow, you have to find other places for water too. So I know they've been working even with the Native American, right? So we want to be good partners with them. Yeah, we want to have these discussions. And I don't recall any discussion about the extension either, Council President.
Do you want to make a motion?
If we could take it to the next public works, I think we should talk about this.
Council President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion, if I could, to defer this.
Okay.
For further discussion.
Okay. How about till August 31st?
Second.
So till August 31st, that's fine.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor of deferring to August 31st indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Abstentions? Okay. That matter will be extended, item 7, till October 31st. Okay.
Okay, item number 8 is a consulting agreement with Hatch Associates and Stephen Moons. Will give us a briefing.
Good afternoon, Council President. This is for the 6-year capital plan project of the Spillway Rehabilitation Phase 3. We actually planned this construction budget 5 years ago. This particular contract is to begin the design for that construction. So it's a multi-year project starting with maintenance funds this year and then getting into the 6-year capital funds next year. And dovetailed with this is the update of the supporting technical information document for the Upriver Dam. The total for the contract is $813,900 plus the 10% administrative reserve. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Item number 9 is 3 low bids, and Dan Buller will brief us on all 3.
Good afternoon. Item 9A is the proposed low bid contract for the South Gorge Trail Phase 2 and CSO 22 separation project with La Riviere. of Rathdrum, Idaho for $4,342.70, to which we propose to set aside a 10% administrative reserve. This project fills another gap in the South Gorge Trail alignment and separates stormwater in Peaceful Valley, which is currently routed directly to the river. The low bid from Le Riviere was approximately $350,000, or about 8% under the engineer's estimate. One other bid was received. This project is funded about 3/4 locally and about with 1/4 state grant funds. It'll begin this year and be completed next year. Item 9B is the proposed low bid contract for the Benber Trail crossing of 2nd and 3rd Avenue with Power City Electric of Spokane for approximately $363,000, to which we again propose to set aside a 10% administrative reserve. This project installs hawk signals just west of the Perry Street Tunnel on both 2nd and 3rd Avenue, north and south of I-90. The low bid from Power City was approximately $158,000, or about 30% under engineer's estimate. Two other bids were received. This project is federally funded, and construction is planned to begin as soon as possible, with the intent to complete the project this year. And finally, item 9C is a proposed low bid contract for the paving unpaved streets project with Shamrock Paving for $195,000 approximately, to which we again propose to set aside a 10% administrative reserve. This project paves Altamont from 46th to 49th on the South Hill and Napa Street from Dalkey to Francis in northeast Spokane. The low bid from Shamrock Paving was approximately $34,000, or about 15% under the engineer's estimate. Two other bids were received. This project is locally funded, and construction is planned to begin as soon as possible with the intent to complete the project yet this year.
All right, thanks, Dan. Item number 10 is a contract extension with DECO. Chris Albert.
Good afternoon. First item today is a one-year contract extension with DECO for air quality emission compliance testing at the Waste Energy. This extension is $115,000.
And Chris, why don't you go ahead and brief item number 11 as well?
Thank you. The second item is a one-year contract extension with 5-star testing for ultrasonic thickness testing. This is to identify thin boiler tubes during outages so they can be replaced before failure. This extension is for $130,000.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
On this extension, where is 5-Star Testing, Inc. located?
They're located over in the Seattle, Washington area.
Okay. Item number 12, Matt Davis will give us a brief on an acceptance of an ESG grant.
Well, council members, this is the acceptance of a version of the ESG CV grant appropriated in the CARES Act, made available to us through the Department of Commerce, which is also a recipient of the ESG grant from HUD that they are distributing to the counties across the state. This is a deal with the county where they offered to have us apply for these funds, as we are also an ESG recipient directly from HUD, so we can program these more effectively alongside the funds that we receive from HUD. Any questions?
Thanks, Matt. Item number 13 is two-year contract extensions for lobbying service and legislative, and Council President Beggs will give us a quick brief.
Yeah, we briefed these this morning. This is the final extension of the lobbying contracts with Mr. Esser and Mr. Federici. It's a 2-year extension, so it's $84,000 a year between the two of them. And we just, after this 2-year extension, it goes out to another RFP.
Item number 14 is the report of the mayor on claims, payments, and warrants, and payroll. Item number 15 is the city council minutes for August 3rd, which would take us to item number 16, and I think Council President Beggs, you will take over at that point.
Yeah, so this is, these are 6 proposed contracts. They came out of our COVID response subcommittee. We had an RFP process. The RFP asked essentially for organizations to propose distributing funds to people that have been impacted by COVID-19. And we had several more that applied, but most of them were actually just for the organization to use the funds as opposed to distribute them. We agreed to have another round of funding, and we put out an RFP last Friday, I believe, for anyone that's watching, and it's due next Sunday evening. To go through them very quickly, Family Promise of Spokane is a very small contract of $20,000. They're going to distribute essentially rental vouchers to clients of theirs who are seeking permanent housing. Catholic Charities for $500,000, kind of a similar program. Spokane Arts is distributing money to art business entities, both performance venues and arts organizations, with about half of it and the other half of it to individual artists who are in business and lost money under the COVID. And Giaco is a company in Seattle that created a software platform and ability to distribute money directly to small businesses. So that's a little over $1 million, and that's going to be essentially for small businesses in Spokane, direct grants to them for losses they suffered. And then Spokane Workforce, $822,000 is direct landlord-tenant rental assistance. They already have a contract with the city to distribute that kind of money under different criteria. This will allow them just be one-stop shopping when people come, but we're giving them different criteria to fit a segment of the population that's not being served by the money we already awarded to them. And then Community-Minded Enterprises, $221,000 is to assist child care entities in increasing their capacity and then absorbing the extra costs of sanitation and social distancing. So those were the 6 that the committee, which was Council Members Stratton, Wilkerson, and myself, and Mayor Woodward and Chief Financial Officer Tanya Wallace. And they were pretty much unanimous. I think the only question at all was the amount of money for Spokane Arts, and it was just a little disagreement on that. It was a 3-2 vote to award $300,000 instead of $200,000. So, I know that was a short window, but any questions that council members have around that? Okay. Not hearing any. I would need a motion to add item 16A through F to this consent agenda.
So moved to add items A through F.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about adding them to the agenda? Oh, Councilmember Mumm.
Do we need to suspend rules first?
Say that again?
Do we need to suspend rules first?
We do. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Council President Pro Tem on the rules. So I'm going to hold that motion in abeyance for a moment. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move to suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Any discussion? All those in favor of suspending the rules indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right. The rules are suspended, and Ms. Wilkerson, I'll entertain your motion now. So you already stated it, but item 16A through F. And Councilmember Stratton's a second. Any discussion about adding them to tonight's consent agenda?
Council President?
Yes. Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, is the motion to add these to the consent agenda or to add them to the legislative agenda?
It's to the consent agenda. There is.
Okay. I think it makes more sense to put them on the legislative agenda and take them along with the ordinance we're voting on tonight.
That's okay. Well, would you take that as a friendly amendment, Councilmember Wilkerson?
I would.
And Councilmember Stratton? As the second? Okay. They've accepted that friendly amendment, so now it's to put it on the legislative agenda. Any discussion about that? All those in favor of placing items 16A through F on tonight's legislative agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nays. Okay. Any abstentions? All right. We will consider that on our regular legislative agenda after we talk about a special ordinance. But we'll get to that. I guess we'll continue on the briefing. Well, why don't we take a vote on the consent agenda as read, which deferred item 7. We'll have Madam Clerk go ahead and read the consent agenda.
Reports, contracts, and claims. Number 1, value blanket order renewal with Core and Main, Spokane Valley, Washington for 6-inch fire hydrants not to exceed $225,000, including tax. Number 2, contract renewal with ESO Solutions Incorporated for annual subscription fees for the Incident Record Management System, which was developed in 2017 to replace the old EPCR system effective July 21, 2020 through July 20, 2021, $79,371.78, including tax. Item number 3, contract with CompuNet for Cisco Network Internet Edge and DMZ hardware purchase, implementation, 1-year maintenance and support, and 5 years required licensing, $269,512.30, fully covered by replacement funds. Number 4, contract extension with Infinite Innovations to support the completion of eSuite legal case management solution through December 31, 2020, $41,000. Item number 5, contract amendment extension with Spokane Roofing Company, LLC, Spokane, to provide additional R38 insulation for sewer department lower roof replacement from July 15, 2020 through December 31, 2020, additional not to exceed $18,186.30, including tax. Total cost to date is $114,755.01, including tax. Item number 6, memorandum of understanding between Spokane County and the City of Spokane for a joint application of 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, $144,883, which will be split as follows: City $65,197.35, and County $79,685.65. Item number 7 will be considered. Is deferred to October 3rd, 2020. Item number 8, consultant agreement with Hatch Associates Consultants Incorporated, Seattle, Washington for Upriver Dam Spillway Rehabilitation Phase 3 Engineering Design and Specifications, and STID update effective July 15, 2020 through December 31, 2021, $895,290, including tax. Item number 9, low bids of A. La Riviera, Rathdrum, Idaho for South Gorge Trail Phase 2 and CSO 22B separation projects, $4,342,070, plus applicable sales tax and administrative reserve of $400,034.27, which is 10% of the contract price, will be set aside. Peaceful Valley Neighborhood. B. Power City Electric, Spokane for Ben Burr Crossing, $363,288.75, an administrative reserve of $36,328.88, which is 10% of the contract price, will be set aside. C. Shamrock Paving Incorporated, Spokane for paving of unpaved streets, Altamont Street from 46th to 49th and Napa Street from Dalkey to Francis, $195,195, an administrative reserve of $19,519.50, which is 10% of the contract price, will be set aside. Item number 10, contract extension with DECO Incorporated, Raleigh, North Carolina, to provide air quality emission compliance testing at the waste energy facility for September 1, 2020 through August 31, 2021, not to exceed $115,000. Item number 11, contract extension with 5 Star Testing Incorporated for ultrasonic thickness testing at the waste energy facility from October 30, 2020 through October 29, 2021. Additional $130,000, including taxes. Item number 12, acceptance of Emergency Solutions Grant Coronavirus funding from the Washington State Department of Commerce and approval to sub-award funds to eligible organizations through the COVID-19 RFP, $272,216.81, relates to special budget ordinance C-35-923, which will be considered during the 6 p.m. legislative session. Item number 13, 2-year contract extensions effective July 1, 2020 for state legislative and lobbying services with A. Luke Esser, $84,000. B. Nick Federici, $84,000. Item number 14, report of the mayor of pending A. Claims and payments of previously approved obligations, including those of Parks and Library through August 10, 2020. Total $5,032,382.95 with Parks and Library claims approved by the respective boards. Warrants excluding Parks and Library total $4,182,511.22. 14B, payroll claims of previously approved obligations through August 8, 2020, $7,314,010.24. Item number 15, City Council meeting minutes for August 3rd, 2020. Items number 16A through 16F will be considered at the 6 p.m. legislative session.
All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda as read, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Abstentions? All right. The consent agenda as read is approved. And back to you, Mr. Crago, on the legislative agenda.
All right, starting out, we have some special budget ordinances. Ordinance C-35923, which is with Human Services Grant Funds, and Tim Siegler will explain this to all of us.
You out there, Tim?
I'm not seeing Tim online. Well, it does relate to a previous item on the consent agenda.
Yeah, we already briefed it, essentially, so let's just go on.
Next up is turn it back over to you, Council President, for suspension of the rules on a new ordinance.
Yeah, so this would be the special budget ordinance to pay for the 6 COVID community response contracts, $2,902,815. The rules are already suspended. Is there a motion to add it to our agenda this evening?
So moved.
Okay, it's moved by Councilmember Mumm, second by Councilmember Wilkerson. Any discussion about adding it to the agenda? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
Abstentions? All right, that's added to the agenda. Then I'm next up on Resolution 54, which is establishing guiding principles for the City of Spokane's role in the criminal justice system in Spokane County. And as briefed previously at Public Safety, this was a community group of law enforcement, judges, prosecutors, public defenders, community members came up with principles that the criminal justice system regionally could use to be more effective, and they're listed out in the materials, and we've discussed them previously. But any questions about that? Okay, back to you, Crago.
Resolution 2020-055 is going to be briefed by Alden Brown, which is setting some tunes for few vacations.
Resolution 2020-0056 is set a hearing before City Council for September 21st, 055, setting hearing before City Council for September 14th for the vacation of various right-of-ways south of East North Foothills Drive and west of Perry Street, as requested by the school district. I'll see if I can pull this up a map here. Wrong one here again. Okay. Streets we're talking about vacating on this one, but basically Buckeye Avenue west of Perry Street Denver Street, north of Marietta. This is just east of the water department property, out on North Foothills Drive. And also that alley that runs all the way through between North Foothills Drive and Marietta. Basically, the school districts consolidate what they have outlined there in orange on their into one parcel. They've got a purchase and sale agreement with the city on this, and as part of that, they've included, I think, the vacation in there, so it's basically a no-cost vacation, because it's included in the purchase and sale agreement. In those right-of-ways, we do have various utilities that we'll be asking the reserve easements for. That's primarily what's going on with that one. Any questions?
All right, Alvin, you want to just continue on with the next resolution, 056?
Yeah. This one's a vacation of Rosewood Avenue up in the northeast part of town, between Helena and Pittsburgh. What you see in red there is a vacation of half of that right-of-way. The applicant is requesting the vacation of this using that non-user statute, because it was platted back in the 1880s. And there we did what you see in green, just east of this one here. We also vacated that right-of-way over to Pittsburgh, previously using that non-user statute. So this one would be a no-cost vacation. We don't have any utilities in that roadway. And so basically, the applicant just wants to consolidate that right-of-way onto his property. I think he's had some problems up there with some illicit uses up there, and he'd just like to add it to his property and keep control of it. Any questions on that one?
And Alvin, just because I like the sound of your voice, why don't you go ahead and do the next resolution as well?
All right. This one's on a little stretch of Grand Avenue, down there just on the south side of the freeway, or Fifth Avenue, and there's a little right-of-way of Grant that extends through the freeway. We ran this one by WSDOT, and we had no problems with losing that access to the freeway. And this is one that we are recommending the cost of the vacation, and this approximately around, I think it's $35,000 would be the cost for vacating this piece of right-of-way. The applicant just wants to consolidate onto his property for development purposes. So that's all that's going on with that one. Any questions? Thanks.
Thanks, Alvin. Next up is Melissa Wittstruck with resolution 0058.
Oh, sorry about that. So this is 2020-0058, and it is the Grand Boulevard Transportation and Land Use Study that we've been briefed on several times now, and it's a pleasure to bring it forward for approval by resolution this evening. I do have a PowerPoint. I don't know if you would like to see that now or this evening. Inga Note is also here to help with the briefing on the transportation side of the study.
I would suggest you brief it tonight. I mean, show it the PowerPoint tonight so people can see it. We've been getting some comments.
Happy to do that. Any questions on the study right now, or should we just wait till this evening? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Melissa. Next up is Ordinance C 35921, which will reorganize divisions of the City of Spokane. And I can give you a quick brief on that. This is the NBS reorganization we've talked about a couple of times. We deferred it so that we could have a meeting with the Community Assembly. Councilmember Stratton and I and several staff members were there, had a excellent discussion, very positive feedback. So a lot of concerns about making sure that the neighborhoods care very much about code enforcement and the Office of Neighborhood Services, and we both talked about how we would strengthen that and the nature of how the staff divided everything up and developed it and the overlaps. I've also had a lot of great feedback from the Community Assembly on the characteristics of the leadership that we'd like to have in that area. It's also spurred several further meetings and interactions with people, which I really appreciate, and really had a good time. I don't know if the council would like to hear more or kind of rehash some of the previous discussions, but the point, I think, was to let the community assembly have some weigh-in on this reorganization before it took part. I would defer to Councilmember Stratton for any other information.
I would just add that I think it was a productive meeting that we had with the community assembly. Again, the big concern was code enforcement. I think city administrator did a very, very good job of assuring them that he would insist on good communication and coordination of activities between code enforcement and Office of Neighborhood Services. I think that was very important for them to hear that. And I think it was important for them to hear that that was a priority also for the administration to make sure that those departments were coordinating efforts. And with the director position, I wrote down exactly what they talked about, and they want somebody to direct the Office of Neighborhood Services that has experience working with neighborhoods and neighborhood councils. And they want consideration given to somebody who has experience organizing and coordinating programs and events outside of City Hall in those neighborhoods. But other than that, I think we appreciated the time. Thank you, Wes, for attending that meeting and being such a great part of it. But I think by the end of it, they were on board. They felt like they had been listened to, and we appreciate council's agreement to postpone it for 2 weeks just to get their feedback. So I think we're ready to move forward.
I would second all of that. Which will take us to first reading ordinances. First one up is C35819. And Eldon, you're back on to talk about some more vacations.
And we already heard from him on that one, so I think we already heard from him on that, just because.
Yeah, and this is back to Alameda Court again. We just talked about that one.
Yep.
For next week's agenda, we're going to try to do the final reading.
Yeah.
The reason we had to go back through a new first reading of this ordinance is because we shortened the vacation up by 30 feet. It used to go down to the edge of this property line right here, and it got shortened up by 30 feet, where the applicants actually want to maintain a public access into their driveway. So we had to go back through a new first reading to accomplish that. So that's what's going on with that one. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Evan. Next up is ordinance C35924. Tim Zimmerman's going to tell us about the Yellowstone Pipeline Company and the right-of-ways.
Good afternoon, Council. I'd like to thank Council Member Cathcart for sponsoring the Yellowstone Pipeline franchise. This franchise was briefed on October 21st, 2019, before the Sustainable Resource Committee. Council President Beggs had a couple questions that we addressed over the months, and we're now ready to bring forward this ordinance. Pipeline franchises are a little unique in the sense that they're highly regulated by the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, and also by the Washington State Pipeline Safety Commission. So there's a lot of regulations when we're dealing with pipelines. We had the franchise before you had an independent look through Tupper, Mack and Wells out of Seattle, and they confirmed that this franchise does in fact protect the city's interests in making sure Yellowstone follows all the federal and state safety guidelines. This franchise is for 25 years, which is the standard time in the pipeline model ordinance, and it is providing the city $25,000 a year for the first 5 years, and after that it can be increased 1.5%, or the adjusted like a COLA. There's also $100 million insurance coverage on this, and it is with self-insurance with the Yellowstone Pipeline Company, Phillips 66, Exxon, and Sunoco. Those are the owners of the pipeline. I'd just like to add that the city also hired an independent company to do a safety look at. It's basically an audit of the pipeline's integrity management system. So that was done, and they found that they were in compliance with the federal regulations. Are there any questions? Yes.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Councilmember Kinnear.
I actually forgot. This was almost a year ago. I kind of remember a pipeline presentation. I just want to say, I kind of feel like maybe we should have this committee to discuss and look. We've got 2 new council members on. This is a big pipeline through our city. If everybody's kosher going forward, but it sounds like you've done a lot of work on this, which is good.
Yeah.
But I don't know what other people think.
I've briefed it before the committee. I talked with the previous administration, the water department, that they are in the agreement. We've had a lot of discussions, so I think I vetted it with the people within the city that I can talk to it about.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about our new folks, and that's, I'm not saying you did anything other than, it's been almost a year since we talked about this. I think all the things you've done are good, but I just want to put that out there. I mean, if everyone feels ready to go forward, then great, but I like all the things you're saying. What other people think?
Councilmember Kinnear.
Thanks. Excuse me. I have some concerns, and Tim, there's nothing to do with you. It's still about having a pipeline with explosive material going through our city and engaging our officer in our river. And as many safeguards as Yellowstone could take, as we know, there are still accidents. And I guess what I'd like to know is, if there was a major accident, would there be a cap on the amount of damages that we could ask for from Yellowstone?
Well, that goes into some of the discussion that Council President Beggs and I had with senior corporate counsel out of Phillips 66, which addressed that particular question, and it was drilled down, and the answer is yes. He couldn't give us a 100% guarantee, but he did say that they would take responsibility if it goes over $100 million. So that was one of the reasons for the delay from when it was originally briefed before the Sustainable Resource Committee to why we're here today. Also, our COVID situation added to the delay.
I can, Councilmember Wilkerson. I would like a little bit more time since this is my first exposure to this ordinance, and I do not have all the background that started last year. So I would request a deferral, a couple of weeks. That'd be great for me.
I was just going to admit, Councilmember Burke on the chat requested the same. We do have the PIES meeting, I believe, just next Monday.
Yeah.
This is on for first reading, but I noticed it wasn't on the agenda for next week's meeting, so I don't think it's on for final reading yet. So we can definitely put it on the PIES agenda on Monday. and then see what people
Council President.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, Councilmember Cathcart. Hey, I would just say I have, sorry, the light's really bad. I have no problem with it going to committee. I think that makes all the sense in the world. Give everybody the full briefing. I do think it's just important to note, as Tim said, that there was a safety analysis done, and they are meeting federal regulations, and there is that liability insurance there, and this does up the amount that they're paying into the city each year. So I think it's a win-win, and plus if they're not going to transport through the pipeline, they're going to transport other ways that folks may think is even worse. So I think it makes sense, but let's go to committee and ask more questions.
Okay. Tim, can you make it to committee on Monday or not?
Yes, I can, definitely. But I just wanted to remind the council that on franchises, after the first reading, there's a 4-week publication anyway.
I see.
So that's why it's not on for final reading. So we have time to for you to ask all your questions and get them answered. So we do have time.
Okay.
So and I'd be glad to answer all the questions you have.
Yep. And thanks for your work and thanks for your patience with me. I finally realized that I wasn't going to get to my final answer, so asked Councilmember Cathcart to sponsor it with you. But thanks, you've been very responsive to all my requests and questions. So we'll talk about it on PIES on Monday, and then we've got a few weeks, regardless, for other questions as well. If that makes sense.
Second, Ms. Wilkerson's motion to defer.
Say that again? Oh, we don't have to defer it, though. It's 4 weeks out from now.
So, is she withdrawing her motion?
Oh, I didn't. Councilmember Wilkerson, I didn't hear a motion. Okay.
You didn't hear it, but I'll withdraw it.
Okay, all right. Perfect. Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear, for helping me here. Okay, anything else on that? All right.
Okay, ordinance 35925, Christopher Green will tell us about a little zoning change.
And he already briefed us on that, so.
And Eldon, for C35926 will be, we've already done our hearing number 1. That's coming up, and I believe we've already covered that as well.
Yep. Yep.
And that would end your agenda.
Okay. Do I have here a motion to approve tonight's legislative agenda as adjusted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda as adjusted, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right. Abstentions. Okay, agenda is approved, and Mr. Crago had mercy on us and withdrew his request for an executive session for this evening. So we will see each other at 6 o'clock virtually. We're adjourned on briefing. Thanks.